Shalom Makim. The water for joining. Let me just I just had to finish setting up these or sharing my channel or this live show on my other channels real quick. And let's go and get started. So before we get into the lesson and talking about Esau being made bare and him being pissed off about it. All right, but before we get into that, let's give all honor and glory and praises to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, Yashayah, BAHASHAM, QADASH, Bracket YAHAWAH, Bracket YAHAWASHI, Bracket YAHAWAH, Bracket YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David, reborn again in this generation. Yashayah to the 130 Yashayah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. So, like I said, in today's lesson, we're going to talk about Esau being made bare and how that in turn is starting to rouse up the rage within these Edomites, but they don't even understand why, right? And how that's going to eventually lead to a civil unrest or civil war, and really just a race war, and then that's going to eventually lead to Jacob's trouble, which is prophesied in the Bible. And before I get started, Salak Yakim, I'm feeling a bit under the weather, so I might have to take a little water breaks here and there. My throat's freaking hurting. But to get started, let's go and get Jeremiah 50. Actually 49 and 10. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. So you see, that's a prophecy that Jeremiah foresaw in the future. Okay? And again, so to give you a bit of context, right here, Jeremiah, he's basically telling the southern kingdom, or the so-called Negroes, before they were kicked out of the land of Israel, that they were going to ultimately be destroyed and be scattered throughout all the world, and ultimately go into captivity along with their brother in the northern kingdom. Hey, shalom, Adam, Nana, the water for joining us. So, like I was saying, in this case, Jeremiah had foreseen the horrible events that us Israelites were going to have to go through, including captivity, being servants to our enemies in a far-off land. But one thing that Jeremiah also seen is the eventual turning around of these curses upon us, and these curses falling upon our enemies. And right now that we're in the end times, the curses are starting to be lifted up off of us Israelites, the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and it's starting to be put upon our enemies. The first and foremost, the Caucasian and Israelis, who biblically are known as the Edomites, but then also on the other heathen nations which exist in the world. Now that being said, in this particular case, Jeremiah said that our enemies, these Edomites, that they eventually were going to be revealed to the world and made bare. Now what does that mean? That means that these Edomites, in this time that Jeremiah has seen, that they were going to have a facade upon them, something that they were going to present to the outside world, which wasn't clearly visible to those people on the outside. Okay, and right now that we're seeing the LGBT movements, the rampant genocide over there in Gaza, and really around the world, we're seeing that these Edomites are the ones always behind it, right? From the destruction of the world. Right now, a major thing that's happening, which a lot of people aren't paying attention to, is the massive die-offs of the honeybees, right? I think they just this year they have calculated 1.6 million colonies of bees have gone extinct, have been destroyed, right? So remember, once the bees are gone, right, where they can no longer pollinate the majority of fruits and other foods, there's going to be a massive shrinkage in the amount of available food for the entire world. Now, what is causing this mass die-offs? Right? There's tons of things. People say these chemicals, the nicotinoids, and all these specific things. But when you cut through all that bullshit, it's these Edomites, the so-called Caucasian and Israeli races, who are destroying the world. Okay? And besides that, when you look at what's going on right now with the world economies, you have these Edomites right now trying to destroy the old system to bring forward their new world order beast system, right? And they're pushing forward with that agenda, right? And in doing so, they're revealing their hand, okay? And people are calling out these Edomites for doing that. But again, they're not, the vast majority of the world, not being biblically studied, don't understand who it is that it's actually doing it. This is why we always hear terms like, oh, it's the Illuminati, it's the 13 bloodline families, or it's the bankers, it's the elites. No, man, it's the fucking Edomites. Okay, these are the people that run the current world right now. Okay, they're the Caucasian and Israeli races. Okay, and again, not all of these Edomites look like so-called Israeli or Caucasians. Again, there's many Edomites that look like other nations. Right. One perfect example is Xiao Jinping over there in China. When you look at his family's lineage, and you follow his father's lineage, it goes back to the I think they're called like the Shaoxing or the Shaoling Chinese or something. Basically, it was Amalek who infiltrated China a long time ago, back in like the 1600s, and slowly started taking over the political dynasties over there, and ultimately brought forward communism, right? And then also when you look at Saudi Arabia, you look at the Saud family, the family which Saudi Arabia is named after, the Arabs at the very top of this family, they're Amalekites, so-called Jews, right? This is why they're all cool with the Israelis, because they are the Israelis that infiltrated the Arab nations and ultimately took over, right? And again, I made a lesson about this, but again, I forgot the tribal name of these Amalekites that had infiltrated the Arab nations a long time ago. So again, that being said, the ruling elites of the world today all go back to the Edomites that descend from Esau. Esau being the wicked twin brother of Jacob, whom the Negro Latino Native Americans we descend from. Okay, and remember, the Lord chose Jacob over Esau, and right now Esau is living his blessing, which was given to him by our forefather Isaac. Okay, remember Isaac told, let's actually get it real quick, because you remember when Esau was born, he was firstborn. Okay, then came Isaac. Okay, so out of these two brothers, Esau was the firstborn. Now Jacob was the latter-born. And what does that mean? That meant that Esau, because he was the firstborn, it was to him that was supposed to be given the birthright, right? A birthright of leadership. But the Lord had other plans. This is why he had revealed to Isaac's wife, right, that the younger would be the leader, and that the elder would serve the younger, right? Meaning that Esau would ultimately be ruled over by us, the younger, Jacob. Okay. Now we ultimately, when you read the story, when Isaac was passing away, ultimately what happened is the Lord had set up the events so that way Jacob got the blessing of the firstborn, and not Esau, right? But Esau, because he came in after the fact, right? He had cried to his father to also bless him. And what did his father do? Well, his father Isaac also gave Esau a blessing which we're living through right now. And what is that blessing? Let me see if I can find it before I just... Let me see if I can find it a good block again. This is Genesis 27:38. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, O my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. And by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Okay, so right here, the blessing that was given unto Esau, that he would live off the fatness, the best parts of the earth, we currently see it. When you look at the Caucasian and Israeli races, they statistically live it, off of the most when it comes to wealth and equality. They're always the ones on the top, right? Though they try to push Elam and Elam and Moab as the people who have the most money in America. That's bullshit. It's the Caucasian and Israelis. Okay, but they're so rich that they're not putting themselves on this list. Okay, this is why you always hear bullshit statistics about Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos being the richest man in the world, but at the same time you have the Rothschilds, the Habsburgs, the Saxe Gotha, royal family, who have trillions of dollars in their assets. Right? They're so rich that they don't even want to be put on these lists. Okay, and that is ultimately is a sign of Esau's blessing that we're living off through here. Another thing that's going on too is that it says, by thy sword shalt thou live. When you look at who is the number one producer of weapons in the world today, and who is the cause of the majority of the wars today, it's these Edomites, right? The Rothschild wife, right? What is it? Amschel Bauer's wife had said that I think his wife or his mother said that if her children did not want war, there would be no war. Okay, meaning that these bankers, these Edomites in power, they foment calamities around the world, and they instigate political strife to bring forward these wars. Okay, and that's what you're seeing right now here in America, right? We've all seen these recent videos that are going viral with that one Edomite bitch that was at that park that started talking shit to that Ethiopian Somali dog and shit, right? They're calling him black, but he's not a so-called black man. His ass is a Hamite, and those people are fucking despicable and shit. But the point being is that they're trying to frame it, right? Esau's media is trying to frame it as a black versus white thing, okay? And right now, these Edomites, because they've been getting revealed, because they're getting pushed to the edges of society, they're being basically criticized and destroyed, or their way of life is being destroyed here in America, and they're no longer top dog, right? Because Amalek has come in and started to eat these Edomites' lunch. And these Amalekites, what they're doing, besides taking the best jobs, the best land, the political power here in America, stealing it from their Edomite brethren, they're also starting to implement their Edomite brothers into a coming race war. And again, this whole viral video right now, where you're seeing, you got the Edomite community basically giving this lady almost close to $500,000, I think, right now, or at least that's the goal. I think she's raised over 200,000 or something like that, right? And all within the comments of her, GoFundMe. It's like something else. It's like Go Send Love, whatever, like donation site. All the comments are all these Edomites just basically, touting Edomite supremacy comments, right? And basically Esau, he's pissed and he's tired of being ostracized in his what he perceives as his land that he's stolen fair and square. You had that devil fucking Matt Walsh talking about he's proud of what his ancestors did, right? As far as stealing this land, right? Talking about how they stole it from savages that were doing nothing with this land. But the point being is that these devils, they're fed up, okay? And that's on purpose, right? And then on the other side, you also have that one Judite who stabbed that Edomite at that football game, right? And his ass straight up murdered that Edomite. But the point being is that because how Esau has been basically dealing dealing very corruptly with us Israelites and Negro Latino Native Americans, you have the Judite community that's sticking up for this this kid, okay? And it doesn't matter if you know how he did it or what he was asked, or if he was his ass fucking pulled out a knife and stabbed that fucking Edomite kid, man. So his ass should fucking pay for it. But the point being is that it's all being used right now to rouse up these Edomites and really rouse up you Israelites too, you Negro Latino Native Americans, right? This is why on the Northern Kingdom side you had these Edomites bringing all these Venezuelan and all these criminals from the South America, so that way when they came to America, now you Northern Kingdom and you Gadites and Reubenites can now be seen as possible criminals. Okay, this is why when they were rounding up in the first rounds, when they were rounding up all those illegal immigrants, they actually got some Native American Indians, Gadites, right? And that's all on purpose, because you see, though these Edomites did import these criminals into America, the reason why they did it is because now they have an excuse to bring that heavy hand, to bring in that real ID, to mark you Negro Latino Native Americans as possible suspects and possible criminals and stuff, instead of just like what it was before, right? Remember back when 9/11 hit, they started to push that whole terrorist word out, right? And everybody was, using terrorists against the Arabs, and I think even some Pakistanis and some other Arab, just weird, or some Arab, obscure nationalities. Like I said, the Pakistanis, and there was another group. So the people who always wear, those Arabs that always wear the knife in their belts and stuff. I think they're Pakistanis or I forgot their names, but Punjabis or whatever. But they were being basically bothered with the whole terrorist thing, man. And you had people calling the cops on them and all this shit, man. But see, that whole vitriol and that I guess you call it, race scaring, has now moved on, and it's progressed now to where you Negro Latino Native Americans and even these Edomites are now all the usual suspects, okay? And it's crazy, because if you go right now onto X.com, you can see the amount of hatred and basically just finger pointing going on there, man, just showing the base of our particular people, right? The Negro Latino Native Americans just doing some scandalous shit, right? So that way Esau can have something to point out and being like, look at these fuckers, man. We got to get rid of these people and got to get them on the boat to get them out of our country. And vice versa. You have Edomites being revealed for using language they shouldn't be using, for being racist, and basically coming out and being that so-called Karen, having that Karen spirit. They're being revealed, right? And what this is doing is ultimately fomenting both the Israelite side and the Edomite side, so that way Amalek, these top Edomites on the other side, can foment this coming race war. The brother Adam Nana brings out 1 Peter 3:16. Having a good conscience, that whereas they speak evil of you as evildoers, as evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your good conversation in the Hamashiach, right? Exactly, right? See, these devils, us here Israelites who are doing what we're supposed to be doing, not getting involved in all this social upheaval, which again, we should not be getting involved in these riots, these protests, right? We shouldn't even get upset when these Edomites do shit like what they're being caught on these videos, because we should have nothing to do with that. We need to separate ourselves from the drama that is being fomented here in Babylon the Great, because it has nothing to do with us. This is Esau basically imploding their own system and also going after their own people to bring them down. Okay, and if we get involved in it, we're ultimately gonna have a problem too. But again, this is why we don't want to get involved in any of that stuff. But like I was saying, ultimately, in all that's going on right now, Esau is being made bare, and you're starting to see these Edomites for who they are, and in turn, that's getting them even more upset and more pissed off that, you know, that they're being called out. How's it going? So,
Keep on talking, because I'm a believer.
Beautiful,
Keep
beautiful,
on talking.
beautiful.
Keep
So,
on.
like I was saying, these Edomites, the so-called Caucasian and Israeli races, they're being revealed right now. And that is ultimately the will of the Lord, like I had just said. Okay? And this is why they're being so upset right now. But again, ultimately, this is going to lead to Jacob's trouble, let's go and read right now.
And let's read it from Jacob, yes.
Yep.
Because I'm a believer too.
Beautiful. You know that we're the Israelites, right?
Yes, we are.
Beautiful, beautiful.
The chosen people. Are we the chosen people?
We are the chosen people. The Negro Latino Native Americans.
I know. What
And right now, and right now, you can see the Caucasian and Israeli races. They're the devils of the Bible. They're the Edomites, is what the Bible refers to them as, right? And right now, the Lord is bringing their empire down, which is why they're crashing out. This is why you're seeing them going crazy. This is why they think that their empire is being stolen from them, when it's not. Ultimately, the curses that were once on us is now falling upon them.
I love you. God bless you.
Hey, God bless you too. So there you go. Beautiful, man. Some Judite lady. She knows that we're the Israelites, right? She knows that we're the chosen people. You know, and the beautiful thing is this is starting to become a more prevalent bit of knowledge amongst everybody, right? Mainly our people, but little by little, it's starting to go out throughout all the world. Now, that being said, like I was saying, all this revealing of these Edomites and showing the world their wickedness from their perverse nature when it comes to sex, pedophilia, and all that stuff is being revealed to the world, and in turn, it's causing everybody to be disgusted and revile these Edomites. And what that is going to ultimately do is there's going to be a tension that's going to build up between the Edomites, who not only feel that they're losing their empire, but that they're being called out for their wickedness and the lascivious nature of them, that they're going to start to ultimately lash out, right? One thing that we're starting to hear now amongst these Edomites is that they're fatigued with the minorities. Okay, that's a catchphrase that they're starting to use, is that they're starting to become fatigued with our shenanigans, basically. Okay, now that's going to ultimately lead to this. This is Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. For it shall come to pass in that day, saith YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM Yashayah of hosts, that I will break his yoke from off thy neck, and will burst thy bonds, and strangers shall no more serve themselves of him. And that's what we're seeing right now, man. This is why right now you're seeing the economy starting to collapse. These other nations who have the convenience stores and all these strip malls that are inside of our neighborhood. Because again, right here in Colton, this is a straight up Northern Kingdom Ephraimite, so-called Mexican neighborhood, man. And when you look at who owns all these places, the check cashing place, the Mexican convenience store, the dairy market, the Rite Aids, the Dollar Tree, it's not us. It's these other heathen nations that are serving themselves off of us. But in this empire falling down, right, what's going to happen is the economy is going to collapse, and then they're no longer going to be making money off of us, and a lot of these heathens are going to be heading back to their own home. And we're already starting to see mass movements of a lot of the people, a lot of these heathens that used to live here, that had businesses, close up shop and go back home because there's no more money to be made here in Babylon the Great. Okay? So that being said, let's move on. Let's get this. Because the thing is the reason why these Edomites are being revealed now, and why are they being revealed now, and why weren't they revealed back in like the 1600s, 1800s, when they were, putting the northern and the southern kingdom under captivity and hard bondage? Well, because you see, the Lord needed us to go through that punishment to pay for our sins for going off and not obeying him, right? And at that point, these Edomites, they had a purpose to play. They were the hammer of the earth, and they brought that judgment upon our people. But now that we're in the end times, there's no need for these Edomites anymore, okay? And they now have to pay for their transgressions, okay? And this was a sign, this was a prophecy for us to look at that that what would entail the end times, okay? This is explained here in 2 Thessalonians. Let me see, 2 Thessalonians and 2 and 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that the man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Okay? And that's what's happening right now, right? We already have come out of the great falling away. And right now, with the great reawakening that's going on throughout all the world, but mainly here in America, Babylon the Great, of the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and all those whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline, right? Us waking up is now us coming out of that great falling away. Again, the great falling away is when the Israelites went into captivity and forgot who they were, right? We lost our heritage, as it tells us in Jeremiah 17:4. But now, in these end times, the Lord's put it on the spirit, starting with High Priest Abba Bivens back in the 50s, and it went all the way down to our teachers, the apostles of Great Millstone, the elders, and the other Akim out here teaching this. Right now, we're waking up, and we're coming out of that great falling away, and now the son of perdition, right? Perdition meaning destruction, the son of destructions, right? The sons of these wicked ones are being revealed, okay? And that would be the so-called Caucasian and so-called Israeli race, which are the biblical Edomites, okay? And that's what's happening right now, right? And why? Because we are in the last days, okay? So that being said, it's only going to continue to get worse from this point on, man, right? You see right now, what happened recently? Right now, over in the land of Israel, you have the Jerusalem, or basically Israel's basically burning up. I think it's like 11 different fire sites have popped up over there. There might even be more now, right? But they're trying to claim that it was started by I think they said that they arrested 18 people, but it doesn't matter if it was physical people who started those fires. The fact that they're being allowed to happen is the Lord's will, right? The Lord is starting to bring these curses upon these Israelis, these Edomites over there, who have stolen the Holy Land, right? Just like the Kuthians who were brought into the northern kingdom after us northern kingdom Israelites got taken away to Assyria, right? The Assyrian king brought in Kuthites, who were basically Iranians or Persians and stuff, is what you would call them, but you call them Iranians today. But they were brought into the land, but they were getting eaten and killed off, to the point where they had to bring a Levite priest back to show these Kuthites how to live properly in that land without being tormented, right? And then now when you go over there to the land of Israel, you have these Edomites over there living abominably in the land's holy land, right? Having Pink City, having the biggest gay pride ceremony in the world over there. You have them committing all these abominable acts. So of course the Lord is gonna be fighting against them. And why is that? Well, because they are not the chosen people. They are not the Israelites of the Bible. So hence that land is starting to reject them, and ultimately they're going to be spewed out of that land, right? And that's going to happen when the Lord comes back and annihilates that place over there, okay? But these devils, thinking that, the lower level devils over there, thinking that they are the biblical Israelites, and they can't comprehend what's going on, right? They think that land was given unto them, and this is why they're bringing hell upon Ishmael, right? But Ishmael's getting it just as bad as these Edomites are starting to get it. Why? Because those Ishmaelites, those Arabs, also should not be in that land, because again, that land is not theirs. It belongs to the Negro, Latino, Native Americans, the biblical Israelites, okay? And we are not permitted to go back into that land until the Lord himself puts us back in that land. Until then, that land is going to be trampled upon by the Gentiles, that being the Edomites, the Arabs, and a bunch of these other heathens that dwell over there in that land, okay? So let's read this. This is Genesis 4 and 13, because one thing about those Israelis over there, that in that land, they can't see. See, it's funny, right? Because when you get into the statistics of those people over there in that land, the majority of them are atheists, right? The Israelis, the majority of Israelis over there are atheists, right? It's funny, right? They don't believe in God, but they believe that God gave them that land, right? And the thing is when you go back into Zionist history and you look at one of the forefathers of the Zionist movement, Herzl, he talked about that, he didn't believe in God, but that he was going to go out and find land that God promised to his people, right? And he was going to create it. And ultimately that Zionist belief went forward and ultimately landed with the Rothschilds, who ultimately facilitated that creation of the Edomite state taking over there in the land of Israel. Okay? And the thing is that these devils over there, they don't understand what they're playing with. They think that they're just over there living in that land, they've conquered it, and they think that they could just live there like they've lived in all over the world where they've taken over. Like, for example, here in America, where they took the land from Gad, right, and Reuben. Over there in the land of South America, where they took the land from the 10 tribes, or the 8 tribes that dwell down there in South America. Or all over the world where these devils have had a hand in colonizing, right? They thought Israel was going to be just the same thing, that they just had to subdue the local inhabitants and they would be able to take the land. But they didn't realize that they were fighting against the spiritual powers that control that land, that protect it, right? And why is that? Well, because you see, these Edomites have a huge blind spot when it comes to the Lord, right? They'll believe in anything. They'll believe in Buddha. They'll believe in Krishna. They'll believe in, all these different dimensional theories and all these witchcraft and all this, the devil and Satan, but they just do not believe in God. Why is that? Well, it's because there was a curse put upon their forefathers very long time ago, which hid God from their essence. They can't comprehend God. And again, this is why we tell people who come up to this truth that, because a lot of people like to reduce this down to a color thing, right? But it's not a color thing. It's a spiritual thing, right? And this is why you could have straight up, black looking, Edomites that will not believe in God whatsoever. They're just abominable, right? But the thing is that they look black, so people don't think that they're Edomites. And vice versa, you could have a Caucasian looking Israelite who believes in God. He's righteous in his soul, right? And he has that good spirit upon him, right? But a lot of people will reject people like that, saying, oh, well, they're Edomites, because they look at their skin color. But again, it's not a skin color thing. It is a spiritual thing. And this right here is what caused these Edomites to forever be blinded to the truth of God himself. This goes all the way back to Cain, when the Lord cursed Cain for what he had did to his brother Abel. This is Genesis 4 and 13. And Cain said unto Yahawah, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that every one that findeth me shall slay me. And that's all. And then after that is when the Lord ultimately marked Cain with leprosy, which ultimately put a bit of protection on him, that if anybody was to come up against these Edomites and slay them, that they would ultimately get sevenfold back, which is what that fucking wicked ass band sevenfold refers to, man. You see, because these Edomites, they know who they are spiritually, man, but they like to pretend that they're not, right? But that being said, what I just read there was Cain's curse, right, of the Lord being hid from his face, and ultimately him being driven out of the earth. What does that mean? That means that these Edomites would eventually go into extinction, right? And we understand through Bible prophecy that after they serve 1,000 years of captivity, when the Lord returns, that they will eventually go extinct, that they will be put out of their misery. Now, another thing too, just to clarify, why is it that I'm talking about the Edomites, but I just brought up Cain? Well, when you understand the Bible and its true narrative, not in the narrative that these false churches like to say, or like to teach, reincarnation is a true a true thing in the Bible. Okay, it actually exists in the Bible, right? But they call it regeneration, right? And it tells you about how you come back every 3 to 4 generations. Well, Cain, he ultimately came back in the reincarnation after being wiped out, him and his lineage being wiped out in the great flood of Noah, right? And then ultimately Cain came back as the person that we know as Esau, which is why he came back with that leprous skin, that white skin where he's missing melanin, okay? And you got to remember, having white skin is a form is having your leprosy, is a form of leprosy, but what it is, it's a recessive trait, right? Same thing with blue eyes and all this stuff, because what it is something that was taken out of the genome of that particular person. And when the Lord marked Cain, just like when he marked Miriam, right? And he showed the wonders of the Lord to Moses when he had Moses put his hand into his bosom and pull it out again. The Lord has the ability to remove melanin from the skin and to mark the being that he. That's what he did to Cain. So again, when Cain was reincarnated as Esau, he still had that same mark upon him. Okay, so that right there is a hint to those reading the Bible that Esau is Cain in the reincarnation. Okay, and now, like Cain had said, right, where he said, this burden is more than I can bear, because he knew that burden was going to be shared by his whole lineage, and that ultimately his whole lineage, the Edomites, which are the Caucasian and Israeli races, were eventually going to be wiped out of existence. And that's ultimately what the Bible talks about. And let's just read real quick. Actually, at the end of this lesson, we're going to read the scripture that talks about how these Edomites will eventually be cut off forever. But let's go and get back to this. This is, let's jump to 2nd Ezra's. Water real quick. This is 2nd Ezra's 6 and 7. Because right here, this is one of my favorite books, Ezra, okay? First and 2nd Ezra, because you got to remember the context of the Bible is that when the Babylonians had taken the southern kingdom into Babylon for captivity, right, they burnt the temple, they destroyed it. They also burnt the Bible, and they burnt all the records. And after the Babylonian captivity was over, when the Persians came in, destroyed the Babylonians and freed the Israelites and let them go back into the land of Israel to recreate the temple and basically re-worship our Lord, an angel came to Ezra, who was the prophet of the time, right? And he had basically retold him the story of the Bible, basically the records which were in the Bible, so that way us Israelites can have the Bible again. And in this event, Ezra asked a lot of pertinent questions about not only the time that they were living in, but of spiritual matters, and also, most importantly, of end time matters. And right here, the angel Uriel is explaining to Ezra regarding how Esau is ultimately, or should I say the transition of the world empire from the hands of Esau to the hands of Jacob. Now let's go and read it. This is 2nd Ezra 6 and 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, right? What is going to be the end of the world like? Tell me about it, right? What should we expect? And he said, or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth, right? Meaning, when was this world going to end, or this aeon, this age, and when was the next aeon going to begin? Verse 8, and he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of a man is between the heel and the hand. Other questions, Ezra, ask thou not. Right? And what that ultimately right there means is that there's going to be no transition between the Edomite Empire and the Israelite Empire, okay? See, so, because you have people like, I think it was Sakari. Was it Sakari or or the ISUPK, but one of these other camps who tend not to get it right a lot of the times, they came out and they said that the Chinese or the Russians were gonna build up an empire after they take down these Edomites, and that ain't gonna happen. You see, these Edomites and the Israelis are gonna hold power until they are taken out, until the Lord returns in what we've been trained to believe is going to be an alien invasion with UFOs, right? These devils are gonna still be in power in one way or another. Yes, China and Russia are gonna gain power, and they're gonna do certain things, but it's not gonna be up to the point where they're gonna ultimately take control of the world from these Edomites. They're not gonna wrestle the rod of rulership from these Edomites. Okay, the only person who is going to remove the rod of rulership from these Edomites is going to be YAHAWASHI, the Messiah. Okay, YAHAWASHI being the true Hebrew name of the Messiah, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. Right, and how's that going to happen? Well, like I said, there's going to be what we are, or what the world is going to identify as an alien invasion, and you're going to have a so-called black man coming out of those UFOs, and he's ultimately going to conduct war against the world armies and destroy them, right? But the entire world is going to be in a state of shock, except for the Israelites, the 1/3 of Israel, who knows who are in those ships, that knows that the Messiah is coming back, right? We're going to be the ones out here who are going to be proclaiming and rejoicing that the Lord is coming back and taking out our enemies, right? While the rest of the world is losing their shit because they don't know what's happening, right? Because they've been misled and deceived by the devils in power right now, those being the Edomites. Okay? So that being said, that right there is a summarizing of what the end of the world is going to be. Right? These Edomites are going to be the end of this current age, which is what we're seeing right now, right? And right now these Edomites, in trying to hold on to their fleeting power, they're doing the most, right? Which is they're trying to cement their rulership in the world before it gets taken away from them. And what do I mean by that? Well, you see, they are trying to depopulate the world as much as possible. That way they can control with ease those that remain. And those that remain, they want to microchip them so first and foremost, to track what the people are doing. But on top of all that, it's a spiritual invocation of these people who take the mark of the beast, the implantable RFID chip. It's going to ultimately be them binding themselves to these Edomites as their servants forever. Okay, and the thing is that those people who don't understand what's going on, they're going to take that RFID chip to be included in Esau's new world order system that he's going to bring forward with social credit systems and 15-minute cities and the mandatory vaccines that they're going to be pushing out through all the people to basically kill off all the undesirables and basically make it so that way if you want to have a children, you have to go to them for permission, right, to be allowed to have children. And it's crazy because these devils, they show it in their movies, or in their movies and their TV shows, right? There's a really good show called Silo, which is basically it's an Apple TV series that shows about humanity after a big nuclear war that breaks out. They go down into these underground silo bunkers, and society has been down there for like 400 years and stuff. And one thing about the society is that people, if they want to have children, they have to be approved by the council of the governors within these silos to see if they want to have children or not. And the fucked up thing is that these Edomites in power, they will lie to the people, because if they know that the person is undesirable because they're too radical, they pose too much of a threat because of their lineage or whatever, that the council will say that they're allowed to have the children, but they give secret orders to the doctors to not remove the birth control devices from the women, right? And these doctors, they pull out the fake device and they say, oh, you're good now, but not knowing that you have it, that those women still have it in their body and they're not able to get pregnant, right? And this is just a tactic that these devils do in this time now. This is why you had all these stories of this medical malpracticing of the forced what is it? Where they basically neuter women, right? They basically get rid of their ability to have children, right? Forced sterilization. Over here in Los Angeles, it was a big thing for the Latin women community, that a lot of these devils, they basically pushed out initiatives, I think it was like in the 50s, 60s, to do a mass sterilization of the Latino women, right? And they would use laws and statutes to try to justify it, talking about how these women weren't going to be good mothers and whatnot and stuff, and how they didn't have the means to have children, so hence they were forcefully sterilized. And the same thing with the Southern Kingdom Judite women, man. These devils are horrible. And again, it's crazy because when you look at the Planned Parenthood statistics, the Judite community would be twice as large as it is today if Planned Parenthood had not conducted all these abortions to the Judite community. So that just shows you how much these devils are aiming and shooting these secret arrows at you Israelites, and you don't even understand it. The brother Adam Nana brings out Obadiah 1:16. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and they shall be and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Beautiful. That's a beautiful scripture, right? And we're going to get into Obadiah in just a bit. But like the brother Adam Nana pointed out in that scripture, that the curses are going to eventually jump from us Israelites onto the heathen nations, right? First and foremost, onto these Edomites, who the book of Obadiah is specifically referring to, right? And again, what we're seeing right now is the curses falling upon these Edomites, okay? And they don't like it, right? And they can't even understand why it's happening. They think it's these Judites who are going after their women. They think it's the Israelis that are taking over the world. No, man. You see, right now the Lord has put an evil eye on these Amalekites towards their brethren, right? And he's ultimately caused these Edomite women to ultimately be self-destructive, right? Hence the whole how feminism has just been adopted and has just taken off like wildfire amongst these Edomite women. So much so that, like in that first scripture I read, there it says his seed is spoiled and he is not, right? That means that these devils are not going to be producing like they were before. And this is why when you look at the statistics of Caucasians in the world, I think it's like they're like 3% of the world population. See, the Lord has fulfilled his prophecy as far as making these Edomites small. Let's actually read that. This is Obadiah 1 and 2. This is Obadiah 1 and 2. Behold, I have made thee small amongst the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. You see, and that's what's happening right now to these Edomites, right? They are greatly despised. This is why they're not getting any breaks from the rest of the people in the world. The people are starting to see them as the problem, right? And this is why now they've been pushed into a corner for so long, right? These Edomites, because again they're getting these curses put upon them, that now they're starting to get fatigued with us Israelites and the other heathen that are here. But they don't understand that this is their end and there's going to be nothing that they could do about it. So let's get this. This is Malachi 1 and 3. Because one thing about it is you have a lot of people out here especially of our nation out here trying to save these Edomites, man. And it's crazy, right? Because I didn't really, when I first came into this truth, I had that whole, love everybody's spirit. We could all get along and stuff. But then it wasn't until I started to really look at what's going on and how these Edomites really roll that they really despise us. And then you see some of the true videos of how these devils really feel about you, right? And then also ultimately you understand that our people, in society, what is being taught to the masses, the reason why that whole everything is love and we're all one people, the reason why that's being taught is because these Edomites need to have a covering cast for them to protect themselves, okay? And it's crazy because, one thing, it's a great revelation, for lack of a better word, I can't think of it right now. But when our people come up to these camps and they find out that these Edomites have a bad ending, all they do is they worry about these Edomites, right? But why aren't they worried about the Chinese, the Moabites, the Mizraimites, right? The Egyptians or the Ethiopians or all these other people? Why do they always worry about the Edomites? Okay, and that's because there is a programming that's inside of them that they don't even understand. Hey, Shalom, water for joining. So that being said, see that as soon is gonna come to an end. Because why? Well, because you see, no matter with all the propaganda and the we could all get along, go along to get along bullshit that these Edomites push out, eventually what's going to happen is that they're going to be revealed for being the Antichrist of the Bible. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, we just read in 2 Thessalonians 2 and 3 how the son of perdition was going to be revealed in the end, right? And what does that mean? That means that it is the readers of the Bible job to identify who are the wicked that are described in Job 9 and 24, right? The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Right? It is our job as readers of the Bible, being the Israelites, to find out who the Antichrist are. And again, there isn't just one Antichrist like that fucking retarded ass Arab who's making a bunch of viral videos right now talking about he's the one that's going to come after Muhammad, and he's the one that was made to come after Jesus. A bunch of bullshit, right? It's not just one person. It is a group of people, that being a nation of people. And it's our job, us Israelites, and really the world, but really it's the Israelites' job to identify who are the Antichrist, who are the wicked that the Bible speaks of, right? And right here, Malachi makes it very plain who that is. And when that happens, when there is a realization of who these Edomites truly are, who these Caucasian and Israelis really are, then it's going to be over for them, right? Then that scripture in Job that talks about the heavens shall reveal their iniquity and the earth shall rise up against them, that's when that shit's going to happen. But until then, we have to come out here and do the Lord's will, right? Spread the gospel and reveal the devils for who they are, and spread scriptures like this that point out who the wicked of the Bible is. Let's read it. This is Malachi 1 and 3. So again, Akim, if you got to remember, this is a very important scripture that pinpoints these Edomites as the wicked that the Bible speaks of, okay? Malachi 1 and 3, and I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Whereas Edom said, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith YAHAWAH Yashayah of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. And here's the point. And they shall call them the border of wickedness. Okay? The border of wickedness. And the people against whom YAHAWAH hath indignation forever. Okay? So right there, Edom has been pointed out clearly that they are going to be the wicked, and that their habitation is going to be referred to as the border of wickedness. Okay? So that's why little by little the world is starting to understand who are the true Antichrist of the Bible. And they see, and people are, and it's funny because people can see the action that these devils are doing, from the spraying of the chemtrails in the sky to the psyop of the C-19 shots that went out, and how these devils are going to try to bring out the whole bird flu or whatever fucking else other bullshit that they're going to bring out. They can see all the wars that have been pushed throughout these last couple of centuries that have been all promulgated by these Edomites, right? Pretty soon people are going to wake up. Now that people are vibrating at a higher frequency, people are starting to be more inquisitive, right? You have the Israelites out here who are being given the spirits to give people answers to questions they never asked, right? And people are going to little by little start to understand what we're saying, right? They're going to, in all that propaganda of us just pushing out hate and being black Hebrew Israelites, and we're just touting all this, all this fear mongering, all that's going to fall away, because what's going to eventually happen is that these truths that we're we're out here prophesying and preaching about are going to eventually hit ears of those who are actually hearing and are able to comprehend. And that truth is then going to start to spread more and more. And just like the fires right now over in the land of Israel, then this truth is going to also spread just like that fire. Because why? Well, because you see, the message that we're spreading isn't our own message. It's the message of the Most High. It's the Most High's words that we're pushing out. Okay, and the word and the Most High's words are like fire, as it tells you in the scripture. The brother Adam Nana brings out another scripture, Isaiah 25:7, and he will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people that the veil that is spread over all nations. Exactly, right? Because the thing is right now, just like the Lord is bringing us Israelites back to the remembrance of our former selves, he's also bringing these other nations, the Moabites, the Mizraimites, the Aram, the Ethiopians, the Canaanites. He's bringing all that ancient heritage back to them. Okay, and how is he doing that? Well, by us, the spirit of his mouth, us Israelites who are out here prophesying this truth, telling these people who they are, and also telling the world who these devils, these Edomites are today. Okay, and doing so, the Bible finally makes sense, right? And it's crazy because before I even got into this truth, when I was a little kid, I remember I was this is before I even got a hold of the Bible, but I was always wondering, is like, how is it that this guy Jesus died for my sins over there in the land of the desert, and I'm just some little Mexican kid over here in America, in Los Angeles? What do I have to do with that, right? See, me not understanding my portion in this Bible made it not really click with me, right? I couldn't what's the term? I couldn't relate to it because I didn't know where I stood in this Bible, right? But it wasn't until later on, when the Lord had mercy upon me and brought me to this truth, that he revealed to me, who I truly was, that I'm an Issacharite from the tribe of Israel, and all my brothers are these certain tribes. And then also that he explained who the other nations were, right? And you can get that in Genesis 10. Okay? And again, once you understand who you are and who the other people in the Bible are, then the Bible makes all that much more sense. Because you understand when the Moabites came against the Israelites, who was going against who? When you understand that Moab is the helper of Babylon the Great, you understand what that's talking about. You understand, let's talk about these Chinese assisting these Edomites, the Israeli and the Caucasians, to bring forward the empire of Babylon, America. Okay, and it's true, because that's what's actually happening. So again, then when you understand the Bible in its proper context, you understand its true narrative, and then hence the Bible speaks. Okay. Let's get to this. This is because, and then ultimately all this rage that these Edomites are currently building up right now, like I said, it's going to lead to a massive infighting amongst the people here in the world. But again, it's going to ultimately be only the wicked Israelites, that being the 2/3, that are going to get involved in this, because Lord willing, us 1/3, we're gonna know to separate ourselves from all the drama and all the BS that these Edomites are fomenting right now, right? And that's let me actually get that real quick before we get into Obadiah. That could be found in Job 20. This is Job 20 and 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, that for the most part is in basically it was the 80s, 90s, when these Edomites were at the very top of their empire. They had reached the crescendo of the greatness that they have done. Right, they had just gone to the moon in the 70s, and they were, they had beaten they were winning the Cold War against the Russians, right, which also are Edomites. But the point being is that these Edomites were at the top of their game. Okay, they were at the fullness of their sufficiency. It says, in the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits, meaning he's going to be in a difficult position, right? And that's when you look at in the 1980, I think it was like 1986, you had the savings and loan crisis that started this whole economic crisis that we're going to be living through right now. Started back in 1886 with the savings and loans trust scandal, with Amalek started basically to destroy the monetary system here. I think it was the repeal of Baines-Oxley or something like that, which basically let these devils start to game the system. Okay, this is when basically Amalek started to destroy the monetary system here in America. Okay, and he's still doing it till this day. And right now we're at the end of that operation, or we're coming to an end of that operation where they're going to allow the system to implode upon itself, and then they're going to bring out a digital currency and a new world order currency, which is ultimately going to be digital, and it's going to be enabled to be put into a microchip in your hand or your forehead, right? But again, that's a whole other story. So back to this. 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. And right there, the hand, that word there, wicked, is really, it should say laborer, right? Because the wicked that it's talking about here are the 2/3 of Israelites. So all these videos you're seeing on X, on YouTube, on Twitter, and all these different social media sites showing these Edomites getting their asses beat up by Jake or Ephraim, that right there, and it's some scandalous shit that's happening, right? From them being jumped upon at these takeover events where they're getting their cars stomped out on, and all these horrible videos you see. That's ultimately these Edomites getting their comeuppance by the Lord, right? He's putting the spirit on these wicked 2/3 of our people, these laborers, right, to come out after these Edomites, right? And these Edomites are in turn getting their just reward, okay? So that right there is just, again, another example of how the curses are falling upon these Edomites, okay? They can no longer stand and not be disturbed, right? They're not being pummeled upon by these other nations, namely us Israelites, and of us Israelites, the 2/3 of our people, and they can't do shit about it. So let's go and get this now. This is Obadiah 1:10. It says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Right? And that's ultimately what's going on right now, right? You see all the wickedness that these Edomites have done, not just during the North Atlantic slave trade, but going all the way back to the time when they assisted the Hamite Babylonians in taking down the southern kingdom, and then also burning the temple. Because again, it tells you, where is it? Let me get it. Because a lot of people don't think these Edomites did burn down the temple during the time of 70 AD, when they obviously did. They burnt the second temple down, but they also burnt the first temple down, right? They helped the Babylonians. It says, trying to just find it. Give me a moment, Akim. Second. It's in Maccabees, I believe. Crazy, you got this mockingbird up there. That's what's all that chirping and stuff. So it's crazy. I have a bunch of I like birds, right? And when you go right now in my house, I always put out bird food for them. So I'm getting a bunch of birds, so I get to recognize them, and you can see that these are mockingbirds. So here's the first. First Maccabees, maybe. First Maccabees is mostly just history. Fuck, y'all, give me a moment. Let me see. You know, I wrote it down somewhere here in my notes. Damn it, I can't find it. Holy shit, it's the second Maccabees. If I can't find it, I'm gonna move on, Akim, but it's lucky, Akim. I can't find it. Lord will, I'll make a lesson about it. I'll find the scripture. But it basically it points out how Edom was the one that burnt the temple, right? And this is going back to the when the Edomites assisted the Babylonians in taking the southern kingdom down, right? Is that famous scripture that says, and the children of Edom said, raise it, till the foundations thereof. And it talks about how, and then in the scripture in Maccabees, I believe, or it's in the Apocrypha, it talks about how these Edomites were the ones who burnt the Lord's temple, okay? And hence, these devils are going to pay for all the wickedness that they've done, right? Shame shall cover them for the wickedness that they did against us Israelites, right? All the way back to the time of the Babylonian taking the southern kingdom, all the way forward to when they took they destroyed the southern kingdom again in 70 AD. They took a lot of Israelites of the southern kingdom into the Roman slave markets, and then later in 1492, when Columbus came and actually really the Europeans, they came over to the South America. They found the northern kingdoms. What did they do? When they found out who they were, they enslaved us and they destroyed us. They burnt up our records and they basically got rid of us as best as they could, and they put us into captivity. And we eventually forgot who we were until now. Now that all that wickedness that these Edomites are doing is now starting to come out and being put out here to the point where these Edomites are now passing hate speech laws because, one, they don't want this truth to come out. They don't want their children to know what they did in their old times, right? And they don't want to pay. They don't want to be accountable for their actions, right? What do they always say? Well, I wasn't alive at the time. I didn't enslave you, but not realizing that they are their forefathers. Hey, Thawada, Zan Maximus, that's what it was. First Maccabees 4 and 45. Thawada, let me actually get it real quick. I knew it was in a Maccabees somewhere. I just thought it was in fourth. It was in a second Maccabees. This is You know what? Maybe that may not be it, Akim, because I'm right now reading First Maccabees. Oh, Salaki. First Ezra. There you go. That's right, Ezra's. I want to make a lesson on this. That way, put it in my mind. There he goes. The water, YAHAWASHI. We're bringing out that scripture. This is First Ezra's 4:45. Thou also hast vowed to build up the temple which the Edomites burnt when Judah was made desolate by the Chaldeans. Chaldeans were basically the Babylonians. You see, so not only the Edomites have a hand in burning the true first temple, but they also tore down the second Herod's temple, just showing you these devils, man, right? And right now they're trying to ultimately destroy the third temple. That third temple being us Israelites, our bodies. And how are they doing that? Well, by these jabs, right? By these mRNA medicine to try to change our genome, right? These devils aren't slick, man. They're ultimately warring against God in the spiritual world by doing small things that we're witnessing today, right? The things that a lot of our people don't even realize that they're doing. So that being said, let's get this. This is because ultimately all this is going to come up against these Edomites, because these Edomites have been doing wickedness for so long. They thought that they got away with it, right? And in fact, the events and the actions that they're taking right now with trying to bring forward their new world order, and they're trying to depopulate the world, shows that they believe that they won the game, that it's game over for the rest of the world, and that they believe that they're soon gonna be the God emperors of this world forever. But the Lord has other plans for them, which is told in Obadiah 1:18. This is Obadiah 1:18, and the house of Jacob, that being the southern kingdom of the so-called Negroes, shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph, that being the northern kingdom, the so-called Latinos, Native Americans, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them a devouring and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for YAHAWAH B'Hashem Yashayah has spoken it. Right there. That right there is the Lord's death note to these Edomites. They ain't going to be able to escape what's coming, okay? And all because of the wickedness that they've done. Because you got to remember, even all the way back to the time when we were coming out of the land of Israel, out of the land of Egypt, these Edomites, they were the first ones to attack us. And primarily the top Edomites, the Amalekites, man. And that tells us in Hebrews. I'll skip that for now. But it talks about how these Amalekites were one of the first nations to attack us. And on top of that, like I said, it was the Amalekites, but they didn't go after the strong men of war. They went after the frail and sickly of our people who were straggling behind us in the large caravan that we had, man. To show you, man, that's these Edomites MO, man. They never fight fair, and they always go after the least capable of protecting themselves, right? Right, just like when you look at what happened during the C-19 PSYOP, who was given the shots first, right? It was the elderly and those people who couldn't protect themselves, right? That were seen as being vulnerable, right? And these devils, they got them, man. That's why right now a lot of them are dying from these clots and all these things, these heart attacks. But again, that's a whole other story. So there you go. So now we understand that these devils, these Edomites, they're right now on their way to being destroyed utterly. Now, what's going to eventually happen is that the end time events are gonna play out. What is that? That's going to be the coming removal of the Northern Army from America, meaning there's going to be a large draft and a large military deployment over there to Saudi Arabia, right? Where these Edomites, you can already see it happening right now. You're seeing a buildup of armies being sent over there to the Levant area, the Middle East, so-called Middle East, I should say, right? See, that's a prophecy that's playing out currently. You're ultimately going to see the adoption of a RFID implantable chip for people to carry around their digital currency and their digital ID, which this year has been made mandatory in the United States if you want to travel domestically or you want to go overseas. Okay, so that being said, these devils they're moving forward on their agenda, and ultimately it's fulfilling prophecy. And then after the MOTB, the RFID chips are made mandatory, then we're gonna see this World War III break out in full scale. And when it's breaking out, you're gonna then see then we are gonna be visited by the Lord, which, like I said again, is gonna be a large, what appears to be a UFO invasion, which really is gonna be the Lord coming back with the thousands of angels. And when he comes back, he's ultimately going to destroy these Edomites and all the armies of the world that are gathered there in the valley of Jehoshaphat, right there in the land of Israel. And in doing so, he's then going to ultimately launch these nuclear missiles, right? Because it tells you that at the end crescendo of the Lord's prophecies is that there's going to come a great fire, right? To burn Babylon the Great and the beast. That being the NATO powers. And what is that? That we understand when you read the scriptures is going to be the nuclear war or the nuclear missiles that are going to get launched in the very end. And when those are being launched, what's going to happen is the angels are going to go around and they're going to pick up the 1/3 of Israel. That being one out of every 3 Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that bloodline that has woken up, has come back to their true heritage, and come back to calling upon the Lord by his true name, right? Hence fulfilling the prophecy of all those Israelites who call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Okay, so let's go and get this, and then we're going to get out of here, because you got to remember, this isn't just a thing, like a new thing in the gospel that we're interpreting. No, this is something that has been known from the very beginning. In fact, we're going to go right now to the Moabite prophet, right? This Moabite shaman, his name was Balaam, who was hired by the king of Moab, Chinese, to curse us Israelites when we started to come into the land of Canaan right there, right? Because the king of Moab, seeing that we had become big, seeing that we had started taking out all these other nations, so he hired this Moabite shaman to basically put curses upon us. And Balaam, he couldn't put curses upon us. Why? Well, because the left-hand angels that he was dealing with were telling him, no, we can't curse these people. These are the chosen people. These are the rulers of the world, and they eventually are going to take over everything. And this is what Balaam, not only, so Balaam revealed this to the king of Moab, but then in doing so, he also prophesied about the ending of Amalek, right? The top Edomites, and what would happen to them in the end. Let's read that. So you know that this isn't just a new doctrine that we've made up. This is a doctrine that has been written in the Bible from the very beginning, in the Torah. And it says, Balaam's vision, this is Numbers 24 and 16. He hath said, which heard the words of God and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw the visions of the Almighty falling into a trance, but having his eyes open. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, that's YAHAWASHI, the Messiah, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, meaning that we're gonna that scepter is a symbol for rulership, right? That the rulers are gonna come out of Israel. It says, rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Seth. And Edom shall be a possession. Seir also shall be a possession for his enemies, and Israel shall do valiantly. Meaning that we're going to destroy these Edomites, man. They're going to go into captivity under us Israelites, right? Because again, Seir is just the capital city of these Edomites, okay? And it says, verse 19, out of Jacob shall come he that shall have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city. And here's the point. And when he looked on Amalek, Amalek is the Israelis right now in the land of Israel, who are claiming to be the Israelites, which they are not. They're the Amalekites of the tribe of Edom. And when he looked upon Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he perish forever. Okay, so there you go. So that right there shows you that these Edomites, though right now they're being revealed and they're raging and they're getting upset that people are calling them out and these curses are falling upon them. It's much ado about nothing, because they ain't going to be able to do shit. Just like us Israelites, we weren't able to do anything when the Lord started to turn against us and he put us into captivity and he put these curses upon us. These Edomites, they ain't going to be able to do anything either. But their utter end is not that the Lord is going to redeem them and bring them back. No, the Lord is ultimately going to make them go extinct. So either way, Akim, hopefully this lesson was edifying. Hopefully I was able to break that down a bit. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put it down in the comment boards. If you have any questions, I'll see you, Akim, here, Lord willing, next week and throughout the week with the other lessons, all right? So let's go and give all honor and glory and praises to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, Yashayah, BAHASHAM, QADASH, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah Yashayah, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah Yashayah, Barakatah Yahawah, Barakatah Yashayah, BAHASHAM, QADASH, Kwam Yasharallah, Kwam Yasharallah, Kwam Yasharallah. Shalom, Akim.